It's show time. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of GBC Live. It's not that I didn't hire a makeup artist. It's just very hot here in Los Angeles in the San Fernando Valley. I'm glistening a little bit, but man, we have some great talking to go through. So I'm fired up. Today, we've got Tom Bosson from the Marin County Bicycle Coalition to talk about September 16th Adventure Revival. They've got 3 different courses. It benefits not only the Bike Coalition, but also NorCal Interclassic Cycling League. And a lot of people are there. He's going to tell you about it. And to bring it in here, we also have our fly through. It's going to come back. We've got the whole spicy course, which is a long one in here. So we'll be featuring that in a little bit. Couple quick notes here. Yes, it is a Monday. Next week's show will be on a Tuesday again. We're going to have Sydney Crossham on. And maybe you don't know her because it's not necessarily about biking. But if you live in Los Angeles, you ever heard of the Old Ridge Route? This was the road that connected LA to the Central Valley. And a small part of it is still there. You're able to ride. It was built the concrete was in 1917 and lasted about 16 years. And it's a great gravel ride. The road is degenerated. You could maybe go on 32s, but it was kind of a Route 66 feel, and it's closed off. So basically either bike it or hike it or take your horse. Anyways, if you check out her Instagram, Ridge Route Gallery, she's a DP. She has fantastic shots of it. She also has some amazing drone footage, better than mine, of course. And it's a fantastic resource. So yes, back to Tuesday. Not doing it tomorrow because it's my daughter's back to school night and her best friend's birthday and my wedding anniversary. So there's that. Hi, Vic from Cape Cod. Glad you're checking in over there. Lastly, also, I just was figuring out last week, I know that Win and Hunter, you just made me figure out what the super thanks was when people are able to, I guess, donate to me. So thank you for your contributions. And if you're on Patreon, we just did another Recon in the very northwest corner through the Redwoods. I've ridden part of it, but it kind of expanded this course. So if you want to check it out, please support us on Patreon. So done with the setup. Let's bring Tom in and say hello. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Zach.
How you doing?
Doing great here.
Well, I guess this is the second time we get to talk to each other this month. Or actually, we talked to each other a few times back and forth, but maybe this was we get to see each other. But we did our Bolinas ride, which was kind of amended, but still, even though we only did a little bit of gravel, that was as fun as a gravel ride. I mean, it just I haven't ridden enough Marin, even though I feel like I've done enough, but that is a really nice ride.
Yeah, I mean, some people joke that a gravel bike is really the best bike for our Northern California roads because they're sometimes a little bumpy and sometimes they switch to dirt. But yeah, that was a fun day.
Yeah, I Highway 1 was really pretty. The climb wasn't as bad as I thought, and then going by Alpine Dam and the lodge, great host again for us at the after ride, and so looking forward to coming back up there sooner rather than later.
Let's do
it. So before we get into the Adventure Revival, I want to talk a little bit about the Marin County Bicycle Coalition. You guys host a number of events through the years. You're not just an event organization. This is about fundraising, and not just for trail advocacy, but active transportation, multimodal use, and tell us a little bit about the Marin County Bicycle Coalition.
Yeah, we're a bit unique in a lot of bicycle coalitions. Los Angeles, San Francisco, they're generally focused on urban bicycling, and bicycling is transportation. But Marin County is, we do have that. We have a great infrastructure for getting around for school, work, and but at the same time, we have 50% of our physical land mass is parkland. So it's a real destination for all kinds of cycling, road and off-road. And so we have both a kind of we call it our streets division and our trails division. And I manage our trails division. And the events that we do are ways just to work with our different land managers. We have state, national parks, regional park, and a watershed that's open to the public. Establish trust, good relationships, and raise money to go give back in many cases to do education or trail work out on those trails to keep them in top condition.
And so, I know you've got like the Jane Fonda, and then your Biketoberfest, and just a number of events throughout the year that probably keeps you pretty busy, huh?
Yeah, it keeps myself and our volunteers pretty busy. We have our women's road ride at the beginning of the year in the springtime. Then we do our Dirt Fondo, which is I'm wearing their 10th anniversary was last year, and that's our first attempt at an off-road event. And we did that mostly because the county didn't really have any organized events on the public lands. So we stepped up and said, well, let's make it happen. And because we've done it so well and created a lot of good relationships with different stakeholders, we decided to let's do something that's a little more adventure focused. And it was a great opportunity to, as you mentioned, to collaborate with the NorCal Interscholastic Cycling League, and really great organization, and just bring our two forces together to produce a wonderful day on the bike.
Yeah. How long what's the history of the Adventure Revival?
So we started, I think it was 5 years ago, is when we started baking this thing. And Matt Adams, one of the leads at Mike's Bikes, wanted to help get a gravel event going that would support both MCBC and NorCal. And so he brought some of his resources to bear. The director of NorCal is Vanessa Oswald, and her husband is Yuri Oswald, who is I like to call him our gravel sensei. He's in the Gravel Hall of Fame, a well-known gravel rider from Northern California. And so he was available to kind of help get us started, show us the ropes, and but I do want to point out that we don't have champagne gravel here in Northern California. We have a lot of elevation, a lot of rocks and roots, rugged terrain. And it was funny, I heard you talking with Amanda Nallman recently, and she brought up the word rowdy to describe some of the segments, and that's what we call our gravel. It's rowdy gravel. You got to be paying attention at certain times. But in any case, we found a route that just has or areas that just have beautiful views and a real diverse selection. Sometimes you're on road, sometimes you're on single track, sometimes you're on beautiful fire road, and sometimes you're on something a little sketchy. Got to keep you on your guard.
Well, I already saw Craig Dalton from the Gravel Ride podcast, good friend of ours. Bowfax climb is rad. He put the work in, so he definitely was can attest to that. But the other thing, when our previous ride in June, Nehemiah Brown, he brought his mountain bike out, and he's like, "This is my Marin gravel bike." And so before we get into breaking down the whole route, what type of bike is probably best suited? I know like you can do gravel. I know maybe better on a mountain bike, but there's probably pros and cons to each for the spicy route.
Yeah, I would say really both are spicy and medium. If I would recommend a hardtail mountain bike is probably the best choice if you have that. Even a lightweight suspension mountain bike would probably be best, at least for the first time out. I enjoy the route on both bikes. I can do it on gravel, but there are times where there's sections where it's a little rough on a gravel bike. You might even have to get off and walk short distances in a few places. Um, but um, but there are road segments where the mountain bike will slow you down a little bit. So I would just say if you like bringing your gravel bike to, that's the tool for any type of situation, then this will work for you. But first time out, and if you've got a mountain bike, I'd probably recommend that.
All right, well, let's just dive right into this, and we'll start this fly through. Uh, let's see. So it's starting out in San Geronimo. What are the vitals in coming in there? There's plenty of parking, obviously, and
Yeah, this is a really great venue. It's a former golf course, so
hmm,
so they have a clubhouse and a big parking lot. The golf course was up for sale, and it was a great opportunity for the community to potentially buy this, rewild it, turn it into a park, and so that's kind of where it's headed. But it's in this interim stage, and it's managed and owned by the Trust for Public Lands. They do these acquisitions. They hold on to properties and eventually get them into public hands, and so we're in that phase. But a really great partner and a great place to start our ride. And a lot of the old golf trails are now they've become trails for riding and walking and even some horseback riding. So yeah, it's just a really beautiful setting in San Geronimo Valley, surrounded by beautiful hills and ridges. And I did want to point out that up until this year, we've always gone. We've started heading. Uh, let's see, heading north, and then coming back. Do I have this mixed up? Anyways, long story short, we're reversing course this year. We're doing we're heading south and then coming back north. So
so kind of like this is a counterclockwise loop. Normally it's no, it's a clockwise loop this
yeah,
year.
and
Normally it's counter.
it's clockwise. The main feature is the Bolinas Ridge Trail, and we've always done it north to south. And this year we're going south to north, and we're also throwing some new things in there we'll talk about. And a good shout out to you mentioned Craig, I think Dalton with the Gravel Ride podcast. It was his suggestion that rather than just posting these new routes all at once, that we kind of reveal them one at a time. So you're the premier reveal for our spicy. You people had to wait till tonight to get a
Oh
glimpse of what
wow.
it's looking like.
Wow. Well, I hope I got it right with all these bells and whistles flying by here. All right. So I guess when we head out of San Geronimo, we go up Sir Francis Drake Boulevard. And I know when we did our ride early this month, we headed up this way. But, I think that's really interesting is you're looking on a map, you think that you're with all the hills there, you're actually heading up, but you're actually making a heading down.
Yeah, I always get confused. Like, the elevation might be down, but it's going north. To me, like south is down, being from Northern California. But we do start going. It's kind of west on Sir Francis Drake. That's a popular road biking corridor that winds through Samuel P. Taylor and out to the coast. But so we do use that for a short distance to get us up to San Geronimo Ridge, which is where we're seeing that red line up above there, which is when we start heading south.
Okay, well, let's whip around because I know it gets spicy pretty quickly, probably around mile 3, and this is kind of like when we head into the watershed and the San Geronimo Ridge. I've never ridden it, but I've heard interesting things about it. Can you go a little bit more into detail about this section because I think I've heard it's a little rocky there.
Yeah, and it's mixed. There's times when you're going through Cypress, it kind of looks like you're maybe even up into Tahoe, and then there's times when you're in Oak and Redwood. So it's a very kind of mixed environments there. But yeah, this is new for us. I think we've never gone up and actually we cross the Kent Dam, and then we take Peter Dam Road and get up onto San Geronimo Ridge. Now San Geronimo Ridge is pretty famous because that's the Repack Fire Road is off of San Geronimo Ridge. The Pine Mountain Loop is off San Geronimo Ridge. We're not doing either of those on this ride, but Oat Hill is also off San Geronimo Ridge, and that's something that we've added to the route this year.
Well,
and yeah, and there's lots of climbing. Sometimes you got the shade, sometimes you're out in exposed terrain, and there's a couple of sections where we call them baby heads, these little kind of mini boulders that you got to navigate. So yeah, it'll be spicy for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even looking from here and looking at the landscape beyond, it's just such a variety of foliage or sometimes lack of it. And yeah, it's funny. Like if you haven't ridden up in the Bay Area, definitely probably bring layers because you just don't know what type of ecosystem you'll be in. And I just know that I'm always packing extra clothes no matter what.
Yeah, good suggestion. We always advise having a couple of thin pieces to in case it gets cold or it can't even get wet. As you mentioned, we have microclimates all over Marin. You could be in the high 80s out on San Geronimo Ridge, and 30 minutes later you're on Bolinas Ridge, and it could be like a rainforest in there. It's really funny how just the conditions can change quickly.
Well, continuing around here, I noticed there's like a bunch of fire roads that you can take up here that kind of lead your way down to Alpine Dam and kind of taking you away from the start. And so it definitely, there's no straight lines here. What's it like? Because this is probably, the longest dirt section maybe of the ride, and maybe the longest dirt descent as well.
Yeah, and we kind of front loaded the ride. The real challenging stuff is in that first third of the course, which is what we're looking at right now. Getting up onto San Geronimo Ridge, then going up and down, traversing it. There are some, a few tough climbs in there. Then the Oat Hill is really a pretty terrain. Great views. This is a very remote area too, so you really don't see any homes or any sense, any urban kind of environment. You'll also see some great wildlife out there, likely, and beautiful flowers are still blooming. And then we do drop down Old V, which is a rugged old. Could have even been a logging skid. They did do a lot of logging in this canyon years ago, but and that's where you got to keep an eye out. That gets down towards the bottom. It gets a little rutted and steep, but and then you hit this Kent Pump Road, which is just follows the back of Kent Lake, and that's one of our premium kind of gravel routes. It's really pretty and mostly flat and flowy, and that gets you up to the Alpine Dam where we hit our first road stretch.
Just amazing the number of waterways here or dams here in this watershed. To the outsider it's probably natural, but definitely a lot of infrastructure in there that kind of does look natural when you do ride in the area.
Yeah, we are looking at our water supply. A lot of communities around California get their water from the Sierra or from big reservoirs. We capture it all in our county, and these are the two significant reservoirs: Alpine above to the right, and Kent down below. And that stores our water. The water flows from one dam to the other, then it's pumped back up, and that's kind of how it has a natural filtration. And you get front row seat on our ride.
Okay, now the next part I'm familiar with because we rode this in the opposite direction last week, and that's kind of going up Bolinas Fairfax Road. I have a little Was this the right video? No, this is the right video of us. This was us coming
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
And I had a longer version of it. I think it's this guy who was coming around illegally was not from our group, so just wanted to add that in there. But 2-lane road. It's steep, but I don't think it's double digit steep. Climbing up. It's going to be an effort, but not the worst thing out there.
Yeah, it's a pretty. I think it's mostly a pleasant climb. It does have some grade and it goes for a while, but it's mostly shaded. I think maybe even completely shaded. You're in some real nice redwood canopy and beautiful turn. Some of these big sweeping switchback turns. Some of the shots you'll see the most of road riding in Marin are up on that road.
Yeah, it definitely I felt like I was at a little bit of a loss going downhill because it was too fast and not being able to catch it all. But well, I guess people get to climb it and have their own
We'll
opinions
see
about
more
this.
of it. That's right.
All right. Now this I guess for some is probably maybe the highlight of what they're looking for, and this is the up on Bolinas Ridge. Um Please describe this area. I know that we were going to try and ride it in June, but it had basically held a lot of water, even though it hadn't really rained around them. But I know that this is one of the most special places people talk about in riding in the area.
Yeah, Bolinas Ridge is a pretty popular route, especially for gravel riding. It's it has just like most of the route, it can change. There's a section that's in the woods, and the you're just below us is the Pacific Ocean. So the fog and the clouds come up, and they hit that elevation, which is when they start to release the water. And so if we get any fog or cloud cover, you might have some drizzle or even a rain in that first section. And then as you head north, you come out into what looks like the set of Sound of Music, these rolling green hills. You see Tomales Bay and Point Reyes to the north. You can look out at the ocean. At times you can look you can look to the east and see Pine Mountain and some of the other, you can see where you were riding earlier, San Geronimo Ridge. So yeah, and it's just a nice flowy up and, some climbing here and fun descents, little, but nothing too challenging. And it just goes and goes for a long time. There are different ways to get off of it, and we'll talk about that. We're not running the whole thing. We're running about 2/3, and then dropping down at Randall for the
Okay,
spicy route.
okay, let's head over there because it's hard to believe we're only about at this point just a little past the halfway point. And it just looks like you've just already put a lot of time in. But then Rosie says down the Randall Trail, and then we're actually crossing Highway 1. And looks like the ocean's right there, but definitely a lot of stuff in the way once you cross the highway.
Well, what you're looking at, you see this nice valley down below, and then a ridge line above that.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is that was down at near Sequoia in Southern California, Sequoia National Park. I don't know, a million years ago or something. That's Point Reyes, and that piece of land has been moving north for a long time along the San Andreas Fault, and actually we'll be riding right along the fault line when we're on the Alima Valley Trail. And there's sections where there's creeks that are parallel, but one exits to the north in Tomales Bay, and another exits to the south in Bolinas, which is pretty rare that you have that situation, but we have it because of all that geological stuff happening there with the fault.
Well, I heard they said that in a million years, San Francisco and LA will merge to be to one city with all the fault line moving. So hold on to your real estate.
Yeah.
But so I just judging here from the fly through here, the Olema Valley Trail, it's about 2 more miles of dirt, but it doesn't seem to be is vertically challenging as the other parts of the ride.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice section of trail. It was maybe even an old ranch road at one time, but it has kind of narrowed down to single track, and a lot of lush forest in there, and yeah, you just kind of gradually climb up to Five Brooks, and then you descend into that. It does get a little steep and loose, that little short descent down into the Five Brooks area before you get back on Highway 1. But yeah, another pretty part of the course. Um, and I did want to mention that the whole route is it's like 40-ish miles. And I know we have a lot of, people think of like 80 to 100 miles, but because of the ruggedness and the constant up and down, you're gonna feel like you rode 80 plus miles at the end of this day.
Oh yeah, I just even when Craig and I did the Mount Tam video, which I think was definitely under 40 miles. Still, yeah, just a lot of volume, a lot of heavy climbing, a lot of double gripping on your descents. So it's definitely doesn't equate to other type of riding for the most part. And so yeah, I think like people they see spicy and it's like they're like it's only 44 miles, but having ridden and being familiar with some of this part, like I know, expect to get back sometime in the afternoon. Um, Then so from here, I know it's kind of a little bit overlapping on our last ride, but then I guess we go back on Highway 1 and then kind of make a right turn up Alema here. And I remember when we were doing this last week, or a couple weeks ago, there were just a ton of cyclists coming down. This is Surfran. Oops, missed that part here, but this was us
You're
going down
going
the part,
down. Yep.
but I was amazed at like how many riders were coming up, and this is Sir Francis Drake Boulevard here, but yeah, just I was I didn't know if there was a group, like another event going on, but definitely we just had like a lot of foot, traffic there that I was pretty amazed at. But it's another climb that's probably about like 7%, but not too steep, just long and grindy, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's not too bad. Highway ones. You'll see a lot of other bicyclists out on that route, and then going up Lima Hill is a bit steep, but it's a pretty short climb until you get to the top of the hill there, where you hop back on the Bolinas Ridge Trail at the north end for a short distance, and then drop down on the Jewel Trail.
Yeah, I noticed when we were coming up, you know, Sir Francis Drake, that we had a few people that were kind of like stopped right here at this little junction. I'm like, what are they doing here? I didn't know that was the trailhead that kind of like brings you back and over to the Jewel Trail. But looks like the descent has got a little bit of switchbacks on the way down, but um, you've got
A
less than
little
10 miles to go, right?
Yeah, it's a fun little descent, and and for the medium route that doesn't do the Alima Valley, this gives them a little something to look forward to. It's a fun little downhill with some rocky sections and some switchbacks, like you said, and especially down at the very bottom, it gets a little rocky, and you have to keep an eye open, and then it drops you onto the Cross Marin Trail, which is mostly paved facility that parallels Sir Francis Drake through the Samuel P. Taylor Park. So it's a pretty feature as well.
Now this next section, I didn't look closely at the profile, and part of the reason was I didn't have to, because just looking at the schematics
We got
of Bill's Trail
one more
here,
thing for you.
yeah, this I don't know, I don't know how you construct trails, but this is obviously every single direction. If you have a old school compass, it'll probably explode on the way up. But obviously, with all this turning and twisting, um, my question is: is this as tough of a climb as it appears on the map?
Um, I would say not. Other people may debate that, but it's while it looks like it goes up and down, it maintains a pretty gradual, probably a 5 to 7% grade, pretty much the entire way up. So it goes and it goes and it goes, and what you're seeing is it kind of traverses these different canyons, and then it hits a switchback, and then it comes back the other way. Um, but it's one of the most scenic bike legal. It's a trail, not a fire road. In Marin, you're in a redwood canopy. You'll see all kinds of cool birds, and it's just a phenomenal setting. And I think it's about a 45 minute, plus or minus depending on your skill. And it's shaded, completely shaded, so it's a nice trail to get up to the top of that. Barnaby, however, where the trail pops out, probably almost just as challenging as the last eighth of a mile to the top, where gets an extremely steep pitch fire road to actually get to the summit there of Barnaby, where you can see where it comes out into the open. That's where it gets pretty steep and loose, and but worth the effort. You get some amazing views from up there, 360 degrees.
Wow. Yeah, I can kind of see. Oh yeah, here you go. When you swing around here, geez. Yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, that's the thing with Google Maps. Sometimes, like, the lines that get drawn on here are kind of scary, but when you actually go to the point where you can see what the actual views provide, wow, this is quite a point. And just, I guess, when you're down in the trees, you don't realize everything that's up and above you.
Exactly. It's not until you come out to these vistas that you can kind of put it all together. You'll be able to look right across and see Bolinas Ridge, and I was just over there, an hour ago or 2 hours ago.
Wow. Well, and then I guess coming down Barnaby, this is your last section of dirt. Um, is it as sharp as it looks? Like I said, the Google Map lines sometimes don't show off the course correctly, but it definitely looks like you can pick up quite a bit of speed coming down this descent.
Yeah, it's a long, flowy and mostly steep fire road. But it doesn't have like anything technical other than it's steep and loose at times. But yeah, it's mostly, I think, a fun final descent. Um, and just keep an eye on your speed. Know that there might be some loose soil here and there, but mostly just a fun, scenic, flowy downhill.
Wow. And so from there, you basically make your way back, I guess, on Sir Francis Drake Boulevard back to San Geronimo. And what's going on there when people get back?
Yeah, so we have a pretty fun party. We have a great lunch and some beverages for folks. We're going to do some fun games to keep the families, the ring toss and things like that. A lot of times the mom goes out and ride while dad and the kids stay behind, or vice versa. And we want to make sure that when the riders all come back, they're able to reunite with their families and have a real kind of a hoedown vibe. We have a food truck that was super popular last year, serving up some great Mexican food. We have Fort Point beer, and then we'll also have an opportunity. We have some VIP riders, Caroline Diesendorf, Erie Oswald, and Miguel Crawford, both gravel Hall of Famers, will be there. Miguel, of course, does the Grasshopper series. So yeah, it'll be an opportunity just to connect with some of these folks. Nehemiah Brown is doing this Gift of Gravel. He'll be there with, I think it's 5 scholarship winners, making our ride making sure we have diversity on our ride. And then a local builder, Nick Newhouse, builds amazing hardtail steel, and I hear maybe titanium is on the in the queue, and right here in Nevada, Marin County, and he'll be out riding with us as well and showing off some of his bikes. And last, Larissa Connors, you probably know her, right?
Oh yeah.
The original queen of the Belgian waffle ride, 2-time winner. She's up here in Northern California now, and will be joining us as well.
I mean, just on top of this being a great ride in of itself, it's just, probably you're looking forward to everyone in the community, just opportunity for people to hang, and so many people that have meant so much to the gravel community are definitely, you know coming down from all across the area up there to make this a special day and just connect with people.
Yeah, it's about community. The Church of Bike, I like to say, just everybody's welcome, and we'll see lots of different bikes out there, and always love that. There'll be mountain and gravel and everything in between. Um, so yeah, we look forward to the big day, and also working with our partner NorCal. It's really, these guys put on races all spring, and so they know how to mark a course and get people registered, ready to roll. So always a pleasure to work with Vanessa and her team. So looking forward to that as well.
Wow. I mean, I'm glad we're post COVID, that the community is coming back together, and I think you know figuring out more ways to help connect the community and make it grow. And what Nehemiah is doing is fantastic, and hopefully we can keep expanding on doing events like these as well. One thing I want to ask you about here is also the Jane Fondo, because I've been having some conversations, is a lot of our events are tied to these being you know these really hard, rugged rides. But I think one thing with gravel right now is we're kind of missing that little introductory level where people can just go, um, you know, do a ride that, if you're just not as getting into the sport, not as confident in your skills, just to fall in love with it. And tell us a little bit about some of the rides that the MCBC does that helps connect like that.
Well, the Jane Fonda is unique in that it's a women focused ride. So women and don't always feel as comfortable in a co-ed, or which tends to be mostly male ride, especially if there's kind of a speed. It just always turns into a race, right? And so we wanted to we wanted to eliminate that element and have a ride where women could feel welcome regardless of their skill level, get the support they need. That said, it's a road ride, but as you mentioned, we did all road a few weeks ago when you were up here, and it felt like a gravel ride, right? Because the views are similar, the roads are sometimes kind of maybe they're like that's what our Champagne gravel is our beautiful roads in West Marin. So that'll be in April this year. It's hosted at the Lima Valley or the Lima House Resort, which is a real beautiful setting. And we encourage the men to come out and help volunteer and support the women on that day. And then we do the Dirt Fondo as well, as that's in July, and that's started as a mountain bike race, but it's again, we see all kinds of different bikes on that event.
So someone sent a question ahead earlier. I think we kind of answered it a little bit in terms of weather that time of year, what to expect. Is it just expect the unexpected, or
Yeah, we have the Indian summers in Northern California, where we generally get a nice heat spell, not terrible, but in the 80s or so. And so I would expect that's generally how it's been. It's been a warm day, but the ride, a lot of it's under canopy. But I would bring a layer, because you never know, and obviously check the weather before you come. We could end up even with rain. It could happen, but generally it's a nice high 70s weather, and clear skies. And you might hit a little bit of mud on that Bolinas Ridge, because that could be the place where you still might get some weather. But other than that, it generally is a pleasant weather-wise.
And then let me pull up Craig again. News course direction, going to be a ton of fun. Look, I've had a lot of people, it's kind of been 50-50 on which direction, they prefer on Bolinas. I think part of it depends on what bike you're riding, but I don't know if you want to wade into this debate, but I think it may just be one of these cases. I fall into this here in LA. It's like the direction and places I want to ride is where I haven't ridden in a long time. So is it kind of that type of feel? You just kind of keep going back and forth?
Yeah, it's definitely a different experience depending on which direction you go in. I can't confirm this, but I would guess that going north, you actually go faster because you're kind of losing elevation. So for that reason, I probably enjoy it a little more in the direction we'll be going in. Going from the south to the north. But that said, there are certainly in the those rolling hills, there was cattle grazing out there. So depending on the winter, and we had a bit of a rough one, you can get some chunky divots and so forth in the road that might make it a little unpleasant, especially on a gravel bike. But that said, I mean both ways are great, but I'd probably say that we're going in my preferred direction this year.
Oh, wow. Well,
and is it lighting up? Is it got a lot of people pushing back on that, or?
No. I just, it was funny because like there was a thread, I think, on our Facebook group a few weeks ago, and yeah, it just kind of went back and forth, and I think everyone just kind of like has their personal preference, and sometimes it's the same way for me. It's just kind of maybe whatever direction you first got introduced, and how you first experienced, like that just leaves an imprint. So I definitely fall into that category in certain places that I've ridden a lot around here in Los Angeles. So yeah, I'm maybe it's just good broadcasting to leave the controversy there and keep the fire burning and just deny everyone's opinions just to get the back and forth keep going. But only great things I've heard about Bolinas Ridge, and so yeah, let's keep the controversy going.
The debate, yes, the great debate.
Well, we're less than 3 weeks away. People can still sign up. And do you have any parting words or infinite wisdom you want to tell people that have not been part of this before?
Well, we do still have spaces available. We have about 50 spaces. This ride is limited because we are on single track trails in national parks. They don't kind of restrict the numbers. But so yeah, if you haven't signed up yet and you want to give it a try, we have the 30 some odd mile route that cuts out the Bills Trail in Lima Valley. We have the Spicy, which is the whole enchilada, and then we have this year we're doing a 27-mile road option as our mild. We'll still make we have about an 11-mile option if you want to stick to dirt at that mild pace. But yeah, come on out. It'll be a fun time. Everybody seems to get back together at the same time back at the golf course and meet some new folks and check out some bikes. I always like looking at what people brought, what they're running, look at the tires. That might be interesting to see afterward what people chose tire wise. But for that, I would say bigger is better.
Yeah, I don't think there's no debate about that. Someone will show up on 32 saying I can ride this on anything, but just keep an eye on that person and make sure they get back at some point.
Or 28 or 25.
yes, they still exist. So
it'll be in for a fun day.
Yeah. All right, Tom. Well, thanks again for not only putting this event on and everyone there, but all the work to make Marin County a better place to bike. And yeah, keep it rolling, man.
Yeah, well, and thank you so much for this opportunity. And we gotta get you up here again soon to hit the trails.
Yes, I think I'll be up there for football season.
And we gotta get Vic too, and miss you, Vic, if you're there.
Yeah, I can only do so much. Okay. Just work on me and I'll do my best. Anyways, all right, take care, Tom.
Okay, you too. Thanks.